Hello, folks. I hope your day's going well. I'm going to take another few moments to discuss another issue that's popped up. I understand that TrueEmpiricism has come out from hiding to make a few comments on the recent events surrounding G-Man, to some extent between myself and G-Man, with other people involved. This how do I say this now? This, to me, this sort of emerges from. This video will emerge from a post that I'd put up, I believe it was yesterday. In fact, it says on the screen yesterday, almost 11 o'clock my time. One that I had written, obviously sort of directed towards Ronnie, but it's clearly written for you guys, the ones who actually sort of care to listen to my contribution and so forth. I don't actually expect that when I post something like that to any of these guys that they actually read it. But I might be able to flesh some of this stuff out or put it into words. It's gonna help. Now, I'm gonna do this speaking part of it with the sort of attitude that when Ronnie presented some concerns in his video yesterday, he just simply misunderstood what the criticism being raised is. And I'm going to say, oh, okay, sorry, TrueEmpiricism, you misunderstand a little bit. So let me explain the criticism a little bit better, and then we'll give you a chance to address that. Most of you will recognize I'm being sort of artificially kind when I say that, because I don't think for a second that he actually just accidentally misunderstood it, or that my explanation is actually going to help him understand it any better. But it's fun, so let's press on. So I want to be clear, Ronnie, that what I've been raising as sort of a concern here, with regard to the way you guys sort of get your information and cite your sources and things like that. It's not the simplest way to put this, so that you're not confused by this little straw man you've constructed. It's not, the criticism isn't that, oh, you guys tend to get your information from other people, because everybody does. Everybody does, right? We don't go around and verify every fact, right? Like I heard a discussion yesterday about how the Earth varies from its distance from the sun by about 3 million miles over the course of one orbit. It gets a little closer, a little further away. Well, that little closer, a little further away is 3 million mile difference. I've heard that from people. I've never taken steps to verify it, like set up a system of telescopes and do a bunch of math and figure these things out. We do always have to take other people's words for it. The difference is, if you ask me, where did you hear that figure, 3 million miles? I'll say, well, it's funny, I just heard it in a hangout yesterday. Where did I hear it before that? I actually don't remember. That's an honest answer. I literally don't remember. I do remember hearing that the average was 93 million miles, and I remember learning that in grade 8. And that it being discussed again in grade 10, and by then we'd switched over to the metric system, so I ended up getting the figure in metric, which I've forgotten. So that's at least honest. I'm at least giving an honest answer. This is my point, is that generally when you ask somebody, where did you learn about X? Oh, that's point number 2 here. When you ask an honest person about X, where did you learn about X? An honest person will say, oh, I heard it from a hangout with Sam or Fiona or whatever we're talking about. And then I saw a YouTube video about it a few days later. Or an honest person might say, I learned about it in school 10 years ago. An honest person often will just say, I don't remember. It's kind of common knowledge. In some cases, this honest person will have actually done the research and look it up. The other example I give here is I downloaded the Reasons for Judgment from the Legal Information Institute, and I read it. If they had actually done so, a person should only claim to have referred to a source or to have read a source when they've actually read it. This turns out to be important. Now, now you're still paying attention, Ronnie, because here's the thing. This is my criticism. When you ask a dishonest person, where did you learn about X? There are 3 things they'll always do. They'll say, well, you can Google it. And then you have to press them again and say, well, no, where did you learn it? They'll say, well, let me ask you this. Or, okay, well, why don't you tell me about what this is, right? And they'll change the topic. They simply won't answer where they got it. And if you really, really press them on it, a dishonest person will outright lie, claiming to have reviewed a source that they actually had not reviewed. So let me just give you an illustration of that. I had actually shared this in a previous hangout. So I'm screen sharing that guy. And if I can find that window, once again, people have to narrate when they're ready to screen share. Clicked on screen share. So here's an example. Now, Arcane and I, and again, I had a very pleasant conversation with Arcane. I think he's a good guy. I think he's, not that this is really relevant for what I'm saying here, but I do want to say that I think Arcane is here for honest reasons. He's got a message that he wants to share, and I think he shares that message. I think he says some dishonest things, but it's because he's cultured in an environment where it doesn't matter if you're honest or not. All that matters is that you love Jesus. So in this context here, I'm asking Arcane. Arcane is telling me about the U.S. federal law related to a prohibition of what they call structuring transactions. Obviously, this is relevant to the 2006 convictions of Kent Hovind. So this is me asking Arcane to sort of give me a bit of his personal history. Where did you, Arcane, personally learn about structuring transactions?
Is that your recollection? That's what structuring is.
And then I forgot to start the clip in the right place, but we all make mistakes.
Then you do as many other Hovind apologists do. You say, yeah, well, there's this thing about these affidavits and that sort of thing, and he was just convicted for moving his own money around. And then let's also talk about this other thing over here. Like, was he convicted for moving his own money around? Is that your recollection? That's what structuring is. Not exactly. Money out of your own bank account. I think you can put a little more meat on the bone. I think I suspect you know a little more about what structuring is than that definition. Like, is it your view, if I go down to the bank and I take $20 out of my checking account, I'm structuring?
According to that law, yeah. According to that law, anybody with a bank account and anybody who withdraws less than $10,000 within a certain period of time is guilty of structuring. So I'm guilty of structuring if I go and I pull out $9,000 today, go tomorrow and pull out another crime.
I had a little bit of an audio breakup on my end, but what I got from that was you're saying I'm guilty of structuring if I take out $9,000 today and then go later in the week and pull out another $9,000 and go and pull out another $9,000 and do that you're guilty of structuring.
Right.
Is it what has informed your understanding of what structuring is? Like, where did you learn about this law? And what other sources have you, like, when people have explained to you, like, there must have been some point when somebody said, oh, well, he was guilty of structuring, or they were charging him with structuring. You went, oh, what's structuring? So where have you learned about what structuring is?
You can look it up. A simple Google search.
No, I know. I can look it up. I'm aware of that. Anybody else can look it up. Everybody who's watching, go ahead. You can look it up. I'm asking you, Arcane, what was your source of information? How did you come to understand what structuring is?
The law dictionary. Just like anyone else should look up any law, you're going to look at the law dictionary. You're not going to just go ask Joe Smo up the street.
Okay. Structuring would not be in a law dictionary. It's come specifically from a statute, right? This is the Banking Security Act of 1985.
Yeah, same difference. You're not going to go out.
No, it's a dictionary. A dictionary defines legal terms. The legal dictionary doesn't contain all of the statutes of all the countries on the whole planet, right? That you have to look at the statutes for Colorado, or you have to look at the statutes, in this case, the United States Code. So have you taken time to look up what structuring is in it would be the BSA, Banking Security Act? Like, I mean, I guess what I'm getting at, instead of doing that with you, I think that what my guess is, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, is that where you've learned about structuring is by listening to Hovind supporters say, well, they just put him in jail for moving his own money around.
Okay, then why don't you tell me, since you claim to know, what is structuring?
So then we proceed to go ahead and talk about what structuring is. Now, the thing about that is, while it may sound critical that I say, hey, it just sounds like you got this from other people, as I say, we all do that. And I don't have a problem with that. The thing is, a guy should be honest about it. If he never looked it up, if Arcane had said, look, I've never been to law school, I don't know. But, it's pretty common knowledge. Like, there's a lot of people who are very concerned about the Hovind case. And this is a common concern they raised, was that they couldn't get him on this charge. So instead, they got him on this other charge. That's at least honest. And we can talk about that. But instead, you notice what he did. When I said, hey, what's structuring? He said, well, you can Google it. Well, no, where did you learn about structuring? He says, you can Google it. I said, no, but where did you learn about it? He says, well, from the law dictionary. Now, you know what, Ronnie, I know I've asked people this question before. I'm going to ask you, because you like and respect and would not ever speak ill of Arcane, but I want to ask you this honest question. Do you think Arcane has ever opened up the law dictionary? Has he referred to Black's or any other legal dictionary? So his claim here that where he got this information from was the law dictionary without referring to a particular dictionary sort of doesn't really hold water if you don't believe that he's ever opened up a law dictionary. And second, just for funsies, I'll tell you, it's not in Black's Law Dictionary. We've had a couple other people look into this. The term structuring transactions is not in any legal dictionary that anyone's familiar with. When I asked him, well, you know, so have you looked it up in some other source, instead of saying, no, I haven't really looked it up, I just heard it from other people, which would have been an honest admission, he said, well, then why don't you tell me what it is? And then, of course, I let him off the hook there. I proceeded to do so. So, Ronnie, it's that kind of thing that we're talking about. It's not about not verifying every fact in your life, because nobody does. It's about being honest when you do it. Now, speaking of honesty, there's a couple of things you do in your video that I found kind of interesting. You opened your video with a clip of me, which I recognize as having come from a one-on-one hangout, which G-Man kindly hosted for us. And nobody else watching it recognized it because you didn't refer to where it came from. You took out a portion of a sentence I was saying, and you interrupted the sentence. I'm literally drawing a breath to finish the sentence, and you cut the clip there so that you could make it seem as if I was raising a criticism that I wasn't raising. And again, you want to start talking about honesty and you do stuff like that. Now, I might want to give you the benefit of the doubt and say, well, you so much misunderstood the criticism I'm raising that you actually thought you were being honest. You thought that that clip fairly characterized the statements I was making. That would be giving you a lot of credit. I don't know, maybe. That would sort of give you credit that you just, yeah, didn't really get what was being said, and yeah, you thought that was fair, whatever. I'm not going to argue that with you. But I don't know, I guess that's how it goes. So my point when it comes down to this discussion now, going back to sort of the characters involved, we all pick up information from other people. The difference is an honest person tells you when you ask them, where'd you get the information? Even if it's an embarrassing admission, I don't know. When you ask a dishonest person, they'll go, you can Google it. And where it comes down to this discussion is that when I look at the people who will say, yeah, I don't know, I think I heard it from some guy, the honest people, it's people like J.D. Kane and Scientist Sam and Dragnut and Prudent and me and DPR Jones, right? When I see who is inclined to go, well, you can Google it. Yeah, there's a couple of atheists I could throw on that side of it too. But it's occasionally. Consistently, it's you and it's G-Man and it's Arcane and Tommy and well, not so much Tommy, but Tommy actually comes up with a link once in a while. Who's the guy I'm thinking of? Big Mouth, Pillbox. You know, you guys just throw these things out here. Nephilim free, oh good Lord. I mean, just, you know, and when you ask for information, they'll say, like, where'd you get that? They'll go, Google it. I'm not doing your homework. And they'll change the topic. If you drag them back to the question, they'll outright lie about having read something. So I don't know. I in this post I give some quick examples. You know, Ronnie, I give the example. First example I give is when I asked you about the origin of the phrase sequential specified information. Through repeated dodges, I had ample opportunity to clarify the question. I made it perfectly clear I was asking you if you were using the term as used in the literature, or if it was a term you coined yourself to explain a complicated idea. I gave you a perfect out. You could have said, well, no, this is a phrase I've coined myself because this is a complicated idea. You went, nope. You said, pretty much all scientists use that term. You later then said that Francis Crick uses that term. And then after that, you put up a video where you made a text slide that shows that this quotation from Francis Crick. But here's the funny part. Crick's not the source of that quotation. You cannot convince me, at this point, you cannot convince me that you read Crick's paper as you claimed you had. You referred to a paper claiming you read this paper, and I know you didn't read it. And the reason is because I have a reprint of the original article that those words come from. And the fake quotation alleged to be Crick's is found on the web only at an intelligent design website referring to a You Publish It paper written by Stephen C. Meyer. So I know that you got it from Meyer, one of his talks, or discovery.org or something like that. So once again, you're caught outright lying, claiming that you read a paper by Crick that you just didn't read. If you would have said, look, this is fairly well known, this is discussed in the intelligent design circles. You know, Meyer's got, here's some, send me some links to Meyer's papers and show me Meyer saying that Crick had said this, and then I'll chase it down. But you didn't do that. You said you read the paper by Crick. So you got the thing with Arcane. The current discussion of this always comes up. I'm not going to repeat this because it's in a couple of other my other videos, and you've seen G-Man go through stuff. I've asked two questions, G-Man 2 questions about his sources. Drum roll, please. It's May 26th. He's going to reveal it tonight. He's going to reveal it a day late and a dollar short, as I said yesterday, because as much as he scurries around, he will not be able to find a place where this U.S. Supreme Court ruled that atheism is a religion. Not that it matters. Who cares if they did? But he will be able to find some secondary sources that say that that's what the Supreme Court meant when they said what they said. And it will be perfectly obvious to everyone watching that he didn't find it before I asked him the question. It'll be perfectly obvious that he's lying about having found them before, and it's actually secondary sources that don't prove his point that he came up with after I asked him the question. So, so that's how that goes. So, let me get to one more punchy point here, Ronnie. This is something I find kind of interesting. When you were, this is what I called in my post. I called this a tu quoque straw man, because my criticism of you guys is you'll outright lie about your sources. You'll dodge and you'll deflect, and then you'll outright lie about your sources. And your response was to say, "Yeah, well, you guys do that too." Except what you're referring to, which is the tu quoque. But what you were referring to wasn't that we lie about our sources. What you're referring to was the fact that we listen to other people and repeat what other people say. And it's absolutely hilarious that the clip you chose to put in as proof of this was a clip of Prudent Discourse. Somebody, I believe he's an undergraduate in psychology, who probably has like the most scant survey course level knowledge of chemistry and biochemistry and genetics. Who was repeating something that Sam Scientist had said. And the clip you played, Ronnie, is so funny because when he was making the point about the chirality of amino acids, Prudent Discourse says, well, I kind of don't want to, have to go off one guy's word, but this, I'll tell you guys right off the bat, I heard this from Sam. You can check it out yourself. I'm not really an expert in this. I wish I knew more, but I don't. But I'm just telling you, I heard this from Sam. And so here's what I heard from Sam. So your example, again, the criticism here is that you guys lie about your sources. Your example about, well, atheists do the same thing, is to show a clip of a guy being honest and humble about his sources. And then went, neener, 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 you do the same thing. Like, okay, Ronnie. Golf clap. I mean, slow clap, whichever it is. Whichever is the more lame. So, well, I'm bored of this myself. So let's play the... there's a second clip I wanted to play here. Again, bear with me while I figure which window is this in. Ronnie, I want to play just the last couple of minutes of your video, just because it's so funny. Now, what I have to do, again, people got to narrate for the screen share. I got to find the actual. Oh, I did not just leave my goofy face on the screen that whole time I was talking. So I got to go stop screen share, and I got to go screen share this guy's goofy face. I'm not making fun, Ronnie. I just said my own face was goofy, so we're being fair here. So let's play the last couple of minutes here of this guy. Go.
Crap. I'm going to be doing my best to try to get back into these hangouts and these discussions. I know I have been away from it for a while, but I need to start getting back involved and to start really dissecting what people like this say. I'm probably not going to be dealing with anything Dave S. Hogtie or like J.D. Candy, these people that are typically in these circles, because the fact of the matter is that I've confirmed, and I know, and I think that a lot of us already know, that these people, they don't know crap. They don't know anything. They know bits and pieces.
So what you just said there, Ronnie, which is so funny, is that, wow, I really got to get back in this. Like, oh, the fight just isn't going well without me. If I weren't here, I'd be all up to Nephilim free. He's the only one who knows even half of what I know. I'm, paraphrasing poorly and comedically. But the point is, Ronnie, you actually say, I want to get back into this discussion. I want to get back into this discussion. But I'm not going to talk with the people who are having this discussion. I assume amongst that list of people that you're not going to talk to is Sam and Fiona and anybody else who has shown you up in Hangouts before. And it's why bother? There's an honest question, Ronnie. Why bother? You whine and complain all the time about the lewd comments and the vulgar comments and whatnot. I know you get those. That's understandable. It's YouTube. It's the internet. I don't like it myself. I wish there were a way to make that go away. Such is life. Oh, hey, there is a way to make that go away. You delete those comments if they're really offensive, or you just ignore them. Whatever. Who cares? But I cannot imagine what percentage of your blocked list is actually honest, honest discussants, polite people like myself, like Dave S. Prudent Discourse, Fiona, Sam, like these people who come to you and have said, you know, hey, okay, let's talk about your stuff. You know, guys like me who in particular sat down with you for over an hour to say, okay, I'm prepared to hear your argument. I've read what you've written on the League of Reason website. I've heard you in Hangouts, but let's get to it. I want to hear your argument. And to just have trouble extracting an argument from you, right? And then you know, I don't call you names and whatever else, and yet you go ahead and put up a video where you say, oh, well, these guys are racists, and you're sort of vague about whether you're referring to me and Dave S. I don't know. And then your buddy G-Man puts up a video where he explicitly says that Dave and I are racists, and you don't think of telling him, hey, that's not cool. Maybe we shouldn't do that to these guys. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. But okay, let's press on.
Things, and because they stay in circles running their mouth to Christians or talk to Christians who don't know a lot about the topic, they feel some sort of sense of superiority. But the fact of the matter is that they really don't know anything. And that's not meant to be rude, but I think that when we put them in rooms and discussions with us and we start to talk to them, it makes it seem like they actually have some sort of equivalent level of engaging with us because they just disagree with everything that we say. I mean, they don't have to do any real research or actually even really have to know anything. All they have to do is disagree with everything that we say, and you know, it's easier to criticize.
They don't have to do any real research or even know anything. All they have to do is criticize what we say. Wow, you so succinctly, and we've been listening for some sort of strategy or description of intelligent design. You so succinctly summed up the entire creationism movement. You don't have to know anything. All you have to do is look and say, oh, well, how did life come about? You don't know, I don't know. Nobody knows how life came about, therefore God. That is your entire argument, Ronnie. That's all you've ever come to any of us with. I even gave you in the chance in the Hangout that you and I had done to say, okay, look, let's suppose I grant the sort of trivial points up front. And I say, okay, so what? Let's say, yeah, there's some intelligence there. So what? And you couldn't do it. You just couldn't press on from that point because you have nothing except to say to us, you know, you can't explain chirality or you can't explain sunlight. Not that you've ever used that argument, but I've heard creationists use arguments like that. The entire creationist movement is nothing but, you can't explain this, I can't explain this, nobody can explain this, therefore, derp, derp, derp. So anyway, if you're coming back, welcome back, Ronnie. You're an illuminating and energizing contributor to the conversation. What I'm wondering from you, and I hope you can answer this question for me, is it going to be a bunch of whining? Is it just going to be a continuation of your whining about rude atheists and people faking their knowledge and faking degrees and all these other things? That's nothing more than just your claptrap about other people? Or are you looking forward to participating in a conversation with us? Because if so, I'd love to have you back. See you around.